Hello, the Georgia Freeman and Anti-statist atheist here today to discuss the religion of statism. I've gone through a long argument of my positions on the state and religion and faith. I've got here my list for you. Tried to do the best that I can on explaining what the state is and what statism is, what faith is, and how atheism has become a leftist religion. Now, there are some atheists that I have enjoyed at times because atheists tend to be very skeptical. Some of them can be very funny and enjoyable to listen to. A lot of my arguments are very dry. I've taken the approach of just pointing things out, and I don't have a lot of time, so I have to think about this stuff and just get it out quickly. But I am going to change course, and in the light of the election era, with the craziness that's going on and all the choices that have come out, I'm going to use YouTube to point out that the belief in the state is a religion in and of itself, and this comes from the right or the left. But the leftists are specifically using government as their religion. It's easy to see and easy to identify and disgusting on its face. I am an atheist, but I have no religion, including none of the state. My religion is simply the belief in existence exists. I own myself, and I have the right to do with my body and what I earn from my body what I want. In other words, I believe that I have the right to ingest what I want and that I can purchase what I want, including guns. I can smoke pot. I can do whatever the fuck I want, and it's no one else's business what I do with that property as long as I do not bother anyone else or their property. That is the basis of our human existence. Existence exists. I am here. You are here. Once we establish that, you and I, should never interfere with each other without voluntary agreement. The state, religion, government, all violate that voluntary nature in some fashion or another, and that's what I've argued for in my discussions. So on to the first fucking statist that's been driving me crazy because I like his personality, but I hate his views. Atheism is unstoppable. I'm just going to use him because he's a really strong atheist and has made some great arguments. He's also a great race realist because he comes from the same place I do, with a history of kind of a Western upbringing. The black and white relations out on the West Coast, 30 to 40 years ago were actually pretty good. I lived with one of my first roommates was a black guy. I grew up with black kids. I never had any sense of color until the last 10, 15 years. With that being said, his atheism and his race realism are good. Everything else sucks. He's a history major that thinks he has some sense of politics and economics, both of which fucking suck. So let me illustrate for you first his internal contradictions and discordant thought when it comes to his awful and impassioned love of Hillary. This is the atheist Rue standing with her, this evil and regressive bitch.
For all, people ask me, why you vote for Hillary? Well, because I agree with Hillary. And because she's right. Because I'm right. And you want to dive into that? I'm not just going to say that and be all vague and general about it. I'm not afraid to dive in. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't even know about every one of these issues. I will learn about them. I will read more. The reason is because it bores me to tears. Politics bore me to tears. I'm not.
So don't talk about politics and keep your opinion to yourself.
A politically minded guy in general. I mean, who is? It's like there's way more interesting things going on. But there are some times in the world, in life, where you must be politically minded because an exchange of power it's important. So these things do matter, and if power is given to the wrong people, then you go backwards on issues like abortion, Okay, so what is your stance on abortion? I mean, it's like saying, what is your stance on the shape of the earth? Pro-choice? Yeah. I'm so fucking morally tuned to perfection. Wow. Took a long time to think about that one. Fucking amazing.
So he's morally attuned to perfection, except for the fact that he's willing to kill something that some lazy cunt wants to kill because she was too lazy to do the right thing in the first fucking place. There's no morality to this. A woman owns her own body because I believe in self-ownership. But once that child is viable, you childless fuck, it's an actual living creature. Guess what? I've actually paid for an abortion, and it was shit. I have experience with this. I was a drug-addled little fuck, and I got a woman pregnant, and I had to pay for an abortion. And guess what? You roto-rooter out a little life, and there is nothing moralistic about choosing to kill a living creature inside of you. Now, with that being said, it's each an individual's choice, and the government should have no involvement in it. But don't take a moral stance when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, pinhead.
Amazing. Do you support the take two. Do you support the legalization of same-sex marriage? I do.
Another stupid position, because the government shouldn't be in marriage. The reason it was in marriage in the first fucking place was because it wanted to be able to regulate the marriage of whites to blacks. So once you allow the government to authorize marriage and give benefits to marriage, then not only are you authorizing the government participating in your life, but you're also giving them access to knowledge that you're a fucking fag. And if something happens, who do the government like to kill? Fags.
Hooray for the gays. Hooray for Eurovision. Hooray for Dave Rubin. Should the government continue to fund? Oh, for God's sake, yes. And I am yanking to the right. These are all very important. They're all deal breakers for me.
Why should it fund Planned Parenthood? Why should the government fund anything when the government doesn't have any money? Dipshit. It has no money. It takes money from you. Not even from Devin, because he probably doesn't pay taxes living in Germany. Did you know that Devin doesn't actually pay taxes if he doesn't make more than $95,000 a year? So he can sit on his ass with his finger up his butt, finger banging little Susie Crotch Rocket over there, his blonde bimbo in Germany, while saying we should be paying for shit like this. Fuck you, Devin.
Okay? And Trump and the Republicans are dead against every one of these things. So there's that. Should the government increase environmental regulations to prevent climate change? Yes. Don't even want the other stances. Yes, it's very important. I want the planet to live.
Which says he believes that the planet won't live without the government, yet everything that the government does is opposed to the fucking planet. Ever heard of uranium-laced ammunition that has eaten up the Middle East based on Hillary and Bill firing that shit into brown people?
Do you support the use of hydraulic fracking to extract oil and natural gas resources? I have heard many bad things about fracking. I will glance at the other issues. It's not super important. Oh, it's kind of important. I know that Germany dominates us in terms of clean energy. I know that we are on the wrong track with that, and I know that there are negative effects of fracking. Yes. Do you support? No. No. More research is needed to measure the long-term effects of fracking. Yes. That seems reasonable. Seems very reasonable to me. I believe I am correct on that. And you are wrong. And if you challenge me, I will ban you because I don't want to hear dissent, because I want to keep pretending that I'm right. I'm just kidding. No, I am just right. I am just right. Okay? If you want to challenge me, come out to Germany and I will knock your fucking ass out. Then we will go get a beer, and then we will have a calm, rational discussion about whether or not you are right or I am right. At the end of that, it will be determined by both of us and by an independent party, the beer maid, that I am right. Okay? Then I will knock you the fuck out again. And then I'll wake you up and we'll have another drink. That will go on in perpetuity.
Okay, this is one of my favorite stances that he takes, is that he'll knock us out. And I get it's a joke, but I want him to knock me out. I am a child of abuse, and I had no father, so I have anger issues. I'm actually trained in the martial arts, and I'm an older gentleman now, so I have zero interest in letting him knock me out. Guess what? Devin would be taken to the ground and summarily choked, and then I'd let him wake up and try and remember what the fuck happened. But never is he right on any of these issues except for race realism and sort of atheism.
Should the government give tax credits and subsidies to the wind power industry? Sure. Why not? Let's make it more important. Not hard. Easy. Very easy.
Fuck is right. He has no idea what he's doing. This is what I'm talking about. So here we go. Here's my position. Easy. Make it better or more important because the government gives tax subsidies. Well, first off, we've seen from Solentra where the government isn't only giving tax subsidies, but if you actually do any research, the government is a corporation and it uses the tax money that it collects, puts it in funds that it actually fucking invests in corporations. So it's fascist on its face. The government is not some nice fuzzy little entity that's out there. The government is a group of men and women that are able to use a corporate face to actually fund war and fill each other's pockets. And guess who the masters of that are? The Clintons. But there is no government entity or agency that gives a shit about Devin Tracy or me, Martin. They only have self-interest and they spend money to make money for themselves. They don't spend their own money, they spend our money. This idea that he just submitted proves that he believes that there's some fuzzy special creature out there that you can't see that is his God, that is the government, that makes life better.
Economic issues. Should the government raise the federal minimum wage? Yes.
Holy shit, shut up. This is the stuff where you can do the tiniest bit of research to understand that raising the minimum wage will do nothing but harm the fucking poor. The higher you raise the minimum wage does not equal more money for the business. What it means is that a small business that's employing one of these less well-off people will have less of that money to do so. So rather than having 3 people at $15 an hour, you raise it from 15 to 20. Well, now there are still only $45 an hour out there to go. So you will have to drop one of those people. And now we will have 2 people employed and 1 unemployed because 2 of them are making more money. This, in economic sense, is provably and historically been proven to be bad.
Is it important to me? Sure. I mean, I'm not an economist, but yeah, I think it's about time. I mean, it's not a livable wage.
Holy fuck. So now we've gone from being an atheist skeptic to it feels like it's not a livable wage. I need to care for others because I'm better. I know something because I have a history degree from UCLA.
And inflation is not keeping up with the minimum wage, so.
Holy fuck. He brought up inflation. Inflation is based on the government is the one that's driving the inflation. If they would get out of the way and stop all of the government borrowing and subsidizing and enforcing minimum wage requirements, we could see a severe decrease in inflation. This is the hope of a non-Clinton presidency. I am not for anyone because I don't believe in this shit, but I am strictly opposed to this fucking cunt rag bitch her.
Yes, do it. Should welfare recipients be tested for drugs? Now that's interesting. I mean, I don't even, some of these issues, it's like, wow, is that an issue? Is that a real problem? Tested for drugs and then what? Okay, no, this is a waste of time and money. No, only if they have a criminal history related to drug abuse. That seems pretty reasonable. Regardless, we should end all social welfare programs. Wow. Yes, test anyone receiving money from the government, including employees and politicians. Yes, and immediately terminate benefits for anyone testing positive. That seems extreme. Yes, but provide treatment for those testing positive. Well, do we have the money to provide the treatment? Welfare recipients. I mean, why is there a drug I mean, they seem like separate problems. They're like, wait, we're not going to give you welfare unless you're going to act the way we want you to act. I would say provide treatment.
So this is where he exposes the brain dead rationality that he has. if the government, which has no money to give anybody, at first it borrows the money after it has the Fed printed, then because it doesn't actually have to directly tax me or we the people for that money, it is able to only tax us to pay the interest on it. It's able to borrow more and more money. After borrowing the money and then stealing it from me, it pays itself back and the whole thing keeps fucking going. But it doesn't have any money, first off, shithead. So secondly then, if it does have that money, let's say it does have that money, the money belongs to this so-called religious entity that you have called the government. Well, then that government has the right to have any requirements that it wants to be able to give that money away. So if it wants to drug test people, because it says, we're giving you this money to help you, even though that's provably does not work. Instead, it leads to all the shit that you complain about, like the black criminality in the inner cities. Well, guess what's in the inner cities? Big government and tax subsidies and welfare programs that lead to more poor, both white and black, poor, which leads to more criminality because they don't actually have to do anything in life. They just get to collect money and they get to go be criminals. So, yes, the government can do and really should do, if you're going to have a government, whatever it can to prove that the people are treating themselves in a way that's fairly respectable and productive with that money. Wouldn't that be the real goal of welfare? Fuckface.
And be tested yet? I mean, should they even be tested at all? It seems weird. It seems like a libertarian type of an issue.
Yep, because you're wrong.
Should there be more restrictions on the current process of purchasing a gun? Yeah. Yeah. Any gun question, you know where I'm going.
Yes, we who have listened to you do know where you're going. And it's provable then that you have no concept of basically individual. You are a collectivist. So an atheist, leftist, fucking collectivist, shit for brains. What this means is that you have no concept of individual rights and private property. The government is not there to protect you. First off, if you have not figured that out, the government is not there to protect you. In the U.S., the Supreme Court has said that the police have no duty to protect. Their job is to solve crimes and not to protect. You are responsible for yourself. I am responsible for myself. If I go earn money, that money is mine. Government has no right to it, but I also have the right to go buy any tool that I want. A hammer and a gun are simply both tools. I can go smack Devin in the head with a fucking hammer and he will be just as dead as if I shoot him in the head with a gun. There is no difference except for in the concept that guns add distance and range to your ability to kill someone else, but they are simply a tool that can be used for self-defense, for gathering resources, for war, which is typically what it's used for by the government. But this is my biggest problem with this leftist collectivist mind, is he thinks that if the government has guns, then somehow we're protected by that almighty God that will protect over you. That's how it's working so great in Cologne and Rotterdam and all those other places over there in Europe, right? Just in the brevity of time, I'm not going to watch this whole fucking thing. I just want to start off, and I'm going to finish off with one of his pieces to show his passionate love and admiration for an evil, wicked bitch.